all set. Hello, everybody. Tuesday, August 6th. Several things on the agenda for tonight. And I'm a little disheveled because I just got some last-minute information, but not regarding this case, so we'll move forward regarding... No, I'm looking for it. I forgot I can't see because I'm getting old. So. Anyways, all right, continuation in regards to 241 Pleasant Street. Just to refresh, the applicant requests a special permit under 3.1.5 and 3.1.6 of the zoning bylaws to allow conversion of an existing single-family dwelling as of July 21st, 1927, to a two-family dwelling on a lot on a lot meeting current lot area requirements for a single-family dwelling, with said proposed second dwelling unit to have gross floor area greater than 50% of the gross floor area of the existing dwelling, together with such other or further relief as the zoning board of appeal may determine to be appropriate. This application also requests a variance under the general laws, if required, conversion of a single-family dwelling to a two-family dwelling having a gross floor area greater than allowed as a matter of right, together with such other or further relief as the ZBA may determine to be appropriate. So, if we could, unfortunately had a last-minute mishap last week and had an emergency where one of the members couldn't make it, which left us with too few people. So, again, I know I apologized 2 weeks ago, so let me apologize again for all those that were inconvenienced by that. But, moving forward, do we have the affidavit and stuff? Did we already do that?
Mr. Chairman, to remind you, for the record, David Hearn Jr., attorney here in Norwood, on behalf of 241 Pleasant Street LLC, which is the applicant and the owner of the property at 241 Pleasant Street. With me is Edward Musto, who's the principal, one of the principals of the LLC that owns the property. When we were here on July 16th, which was the night that there was a shortage of members, we opened the hearing essentially for the sake of opening and then continuing it to tonight. So I filed the affidavit at that time. I also filed a memorandum that hopefully the board members have.
We do.
And I have
I think
given
I have
Ms.
it
Morgan
also.
a copy of whatever I found of the memorandum. So you should have that.
I do.
And publication was duly made in the record on June 27th and July 4th.
Okay. Let me just verify that real quick. I do have you.
Yeah, I think it had
Stuff
been,
that
but
I
it's
feel
useful to do it again, perhaps.
What's that?
I think it had been verified, but I think it's a good
Yeah, I'll
idea to
just do it again
where
just to
we're
make sure because,
essentially starting from scratch.
like I said,
I have June
if I gave you a syllabus of my day,
June
you'd wonder how I
27th,
had
Mr.
it
Chair.
spent. Anyway. All right, thank you. June 27th.
4th of
confirmed,
July.
And 4th of July confirmed, thank you. All right, with that, we'll move forward, and Dave, you've already introduced yourself for the record, so if you wanna take the floor, be my
Sure.
guest.
All right, so what we're here for, what we're requesting, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, is a special permit under sections 3.1.5 and 3.1.6 of the bylaw. 3.1.6 is the section of the bylaw that contains the footnotes, and footnote 1 in the table of use regulations is the provision that allows the conversion of a dwelling that existed on July 21st, 1927, which is the date that zoning took effect in Norwood. The conversion of a single-family dwelling existing on that date to a two-family dwelling, if it is located on a lot that meets the current lot area requirements for a single-family dwelling. Now, in the general residence district, where this property is, the requirement is 10,000 square feet. We have a lot 10,770 square feet, I believe is the number. And that, on that lot, is a house that was built about 200 years ago. And my client has owned it for a number of years. He wants to add on to the house, build a second unit. The house, as it presently exists, has a square footage of about 1,368 square feet. Under the footnote 1 provision, we're allowed to make the conversion as a matter of right, so long as we have the 10,000 square feet, which we have. But we are limited to an increase in the floor area, gross floor area. We're limited to a 50% increase from what is there now. So a 50% increase would allow us to add 684 square feet. We'd like to build a second unit that would have 1,520 square feet. It would be an addition that would be approximately 38 feet by 20 feet. Similar in size to the building, maybe a little bit bigger to the existing building. But it would be attached to the existing building, so it would go from 1 unit to 2 units. The existing house would be improved, the 200-year-old house. We need relief from the board because we don't fit within the neat confines of footnote 1, because we're exceeding this by more than, increasing by more than 50%. On the other hand, we have a house that's there now that it does not make economic sense to simply either add on a smaller unit that would fit within the 50% increase, or to spend significant money on rehabbing it, bringing it up to current codes, unless we can get the benefit of the second unit. And then Mr. Musto would be able to turn the 2 units into up-to-date, fairly up-to-date in the case of the existing house, more up-to-date certainly in the case of the brand-new one, to be able to make this a 2-family house that he could rent out or sell. You have a plan on whether you sell
Yeah,
it?
well, my son and his wife are, they'd like to move from where they are in Norwood to this house.
This house was larger years
Who
ago.
lives in the existing house?
Donna Gay.
I don't need names,
A
just-
tenant.
You do or a rent? a
No, I
tenant does?
have a tenant living
Okay.
there, Donna Gay.
And the other one would be a second tenant?
It's, my son is interested in moving into it, him and his new wife. They would like to, if we can get the permit, they would like to live in it.
So are you gonna build it as a 2-family, or are you gonna build it as a duplex?
Well, it would be.
It would be, this is the proposal, Mr. Chairman, to add on, here's the existing house, add on the second unit
Okay.
to the side.
Okay.
So each of them would have 2 floors. Rather than being a flat, each would be a separate 2-story apartment or unit, existing and new. With the size of the lot and the lot area requirements, I mean, we could, without violating maximum lot coverage, we could have a footprint of over 3,700 square feet on a single family. We're looking for something that is certainly less than that, and we would like to build this. It would fit in with the neighborhood in terms of the type of use. There are 2 families all around on Pleasant Street, Cross Street, adjoining properties, the Pleasant Ridge condominium, which Mr. Musto developed a number of years ago. Those are townhouses, 2 per building. There's 6 of them, 12 total.
12 total.
Beyond that, the Talbot House going toward the corner of Rock and Pleasant Street. That was converted into 2 condominium units by Mr. Musto a number of years ago, which preserved an older house. The alternative to being able to add on to this is that the existing 200-year-old house, which I know some people who are very interested in history in the town would like to see preserved, and I think you have a letter from
I do, I'll
Ms.
mention
Howard
that.
on that.
I'll mention that after.
I think I saw that the last time we were here. Would like to see it preserved, but it's not always possible to preserve things if you can't make good use of them, and if they become a financial drain. I mean, if he wanted to knock the house down, he could knock the house down and build a very nice and large single-family house, but it seems to make more sense to preserve that older house and build something that would fit nicely with it in terms of style and use. So we're looking for relief because the proposed square footage of 20 square feet is going to put us over the limit with a 20 by 38 square, 20 by 38 feet outline. So I think the net effect for the town would be that we'd preserve the existing building, see an improvement to the site, see a new housing built, and make good use of a lot that has plenty of room for these. If you look at that plan, there's plenty of room in terms of backyard. The existing, or the proposed addition would conform in all respects to the setback requirements. In fact, it exceeds the setback requirements on the side. The existing house, by the way, is non-conforming in respect to its setback from the street. And I suppose if you wanted to, I don't know that this really would carry the day, but if you look at additions that are made to existing non-conforming houses, section 5.4 allows for additions to non-conforming houses, single or two-family houses, if they, if the additions themselves conform to the zoning bylaw. And this would conform in all respects. Setback, front setback, rear setback, side, all of that would conform. It does not violate maximum lot coverage or open space considerations. It's simply that it does not fit within that footnote, and that's why we're asking for the relief. And we're asking for relief also, not just a special permit, but with respect to variance relief, if the board feels it's necessary, again, because this deals with asking for a greater size than normally would be allowed under that footprint. And the argument for that is that this is somewhat of a unique building. Its age, built about 1817. Its historical value, and it's an existing house. It would be a shame to take it down. It's different in terms of its location, its age, the size of the lot in relation to other lots in the immediate area. This distinguishes it from other lots in the zoning district generally. So we think it would be appropriate for the board to find that this is a unique situation, and that the hardship that would come from not being able to either preserve it or to economically use the property it justifies a grant of variance relief if the board feels that's necessary. Say we've argued that it also falls within special permit relief because you're taking a non-conforming house, adding on to it, and under section 5.4, the board can allow an alteration to an existing non-conforming building if the board makes a finding that that extension or alteration will not work a substantial detriment to the neighborhood. And I can't see what would be a substantial detriment in this case, just adding on to an existing building, providing housing that's conforming, up to date, and code compliant. So that's what we're looking for. Mr. Musto can answer any specific questions about the details of the proposed addition. But happy to answer any questions the board might have.
One question, I'll start with you. The lawyer mentioned something about an interest in restoring the current property. Do you have any plans to do that, or any ideas as of right now?
As far as restoring it,
Well,
improving it,
improving, restoring.
well, we're talking down the road and, a new roof on the existing building, maybe repointing the brick ends on the building. We just finished repainting the building. I think the inside of the building is currently code compliant. It's just, it needs attention, as any building that's 202 years old would need. So I'm sure if we have work to do in the building, it might be foundation work, it might be basement work. But
So you haven't really looked into it at all?
well, we have. I mean, those are some of the things we would probably contemplate going forward. But I mean, as far as additional work, I don't see any additional work other than possibly putting a new roof on it, repairing the brick ends on the building, which, in the eyes of a lot of people, are significant. against probably the only brick end building in town, from what I've been told. So, we do have some ideas on how to,
Okay. Well, what do you got?
So, just to, Dave, if you can,
Yep.
so are you saying that you can convert this to a two-family by right?
Yes, we could convert, well, no, we can add on to it, provided we don't increase the gross floor space by more than 50%. We could do it as a matter of right.
Which is 500,
684.
oh, s-
Um,
584 square feet,
684.
684. So,
684, against
you know,
1368 in the existing
I'm gonna
building.
tell you how I feel. In a perfect world, this is a beautiful historical building. So what Judith Howard had said has merit. You know what I mean? But I know we don't have demolition bylaws, you know, to prevent someone from tearing down a historical structure. If this was Lexington, Concord, or Westwood, this wouldn't be happening. But Norwood doesn't have that type of protection on historical buildings. So I don't think that we can tell, you know, the applicant what to do and what not to do with this building. But in a perfect world, I would love to see that building put on a separate lot by itself and preserved. And then you could put your 7th duplex building up. How come you didn't do that when you built in the beginning? You put 6 duplex buildings there. They're not historical, and they're beautifully done. It's well-maintained neighborhood, but they're not historical. So I just don't see how this building is gonna fit in with this 1,500 addition, unless you're gonna make the new addition match the existing building.
well, I think the plan is to kind of make them comport with one another. That's the design.
Complement each other, so that
Yes.
it wouldn't be the 6 buildings that you built
No,
now.
oh, no, it wouldn't be that, Paul, no.
So you would take this existing building,
Yes.
and you would complement, like, if you leave the front, the 2 columns, you'd have
Same
2
way, it's-
columns on the
it's
other
same
side.
thing,
I see
yes.
what you're saying. Like I said, in a perfect world, this is historic, 200-year-old building would be moved to another lot, but that's not gonna happen. So, you know, for him, if he's allowed by right to have a two-family, but he just wants to increase it from 684 to 1,500, I couldn't imagine anybody buying a house or something, only 684 square feet, so it doesn't make sense. But I think if he complements the existing building and keeps that architectural, you know, flavor, you know, I think it might be acceptable. But to add on a townhouse like you built the other 6 to this, to me, it's not gonna work.
No, it has nothing to do with, you're referring to Pleasant Ridge.
The-
and
his-
it wouldn't
all
be
around
like that.
around this
But
house.
this is on, no, they're not, they're to one side of it, though.
Right.
So as far as this goes, I don't know if you had that plan.
Yeah.
Pleasant Ridge is here, it does go here. There's another property here that's entirely different. This fronts on the street. These would both be fronting on the street. They have their back to the Pleasant Ridge.
And there's a
and-
historical
and-
home here, right?
No, the Talbot House is over here, what I call the Talbot House is over there,
Okay.
beyond Pleasant Ridge. That's
Okay.
at the corner of Rock Street. So that, Mr. Musto took that, did that over, turned it into a very nice 2-unit condominium that's been a number of years. There've been, people have bought it, it's sold when it's come on the market. So we're looking to just add on, and he tried to replicate the style as much as possible on the addition, taking into account what's there. You've got a picture there of what it has looked like at one time.
Well,
This
I don't
is-
know what it looks like today. but
This
I mean,
is what it looked at one point.
Right.
And this is from the historical records and the Mass Historical Commission's records. This section was removed and the back L was removed. If those hadn't been removed, we wouldn't have to come here because we already probably would have had the area to be able to do the 50% calculation. But along the way, there was a back section that was taken off, and there was is that a garage or a shed that was on the side here?
Well, that was a garage,
But this was part of the house.
and that was part of the house,
The L coming off the back.
yes.
So that was removed. The house was larger at one point, but we have to calculate the 50% against what's there now, not what was there at one point. So this allows for, I think would help the preservation of it. And I understand, Mr. Risi, about the idea of being able to move houses. You did that a number of years ago and to preserve an older house, the old Dean house. But we don't have a piece of land to do that, and if we did it, all we'd be able to do would be to put a single-family house on that lot, because it's only it's large enough for single family. This comes within the exception that the bylaw has always recognized for older houses to be added onto and converted into two-family houses. So long as the addition doesn't exceed 50%. If we can't get the additional, though, it becomes problematic to be able to do this particular project. What do you
That
think?
was just, that's what we've done to it to date with the new painting and what have you, as opposed to that picture.
No, I mean, like I said, I see the value in the historical building. I think it's a beautiful structure. To be honest, I'm thrilled that they're not tearing it down, because I think by right he could do that. You know, whether or not, like I said, whatever this board decides they're gonna do, whether or not this addition is gonna, you know, complement this, that's for another day to decide.
Anything else, Paul?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
thank-
good.
David, good evening. Eddie, good evening. Obviously very familiar with the proposal, as the whole property's been before this board in a multitude of times. And I believe I'm on record as, in the past, being in favor of a conversion of this in some sort to complement the Pleasant Ridge condominiums, to make them look like it. Couple of questions. Is Nancy here?
Here.
Nancy's here, okay. Miss Cortopatris lived next to you for forever.
She's very
and-
young.
Yes, and I'm curious to see what she has to say. As I remember, they were very vocal in the last meeting, or two or three, that came forward. But the bigger question I have, Ed, is that obviously there was the sewer easement that goes through the property, and the proposed addition is sitting on top of it. It says it is to be abandoned. Does that not have to be a straight shot, or can it go 90-90 out?
I think as long as the grades work, we can reroute it, to get it to the same, to the
40-40
same.
or 90 or?
With manholes.
Yeah.
Mr. Gloss's plan shows the proposed line of the
Right,
sewer,
Right.
coming out, following
That's
roughly
doable?
parallel to the back line, and then running parallel to the sideline, and then connecting at different manholes out to the street.
Okay, but that is doable code-wise or
I think-
sewer-wise?
I think if Mr. Gloss had prepared the plan, he must have believed it was.
Engineering-wise, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, he's an engineer, so
Yeah.
I assume he looked at it and thought about that.
I think we have the grades, we have the change of direction manholes. So in terms of complying with whatever the engineering criteria are, that would
Okay.
work.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Mr. Murphy?
Yes, Mr. Musto, you have a proposed addition on this plan that we have from the engineer. Do you have an actual rendering of what the addition's gonna look like?
I thought.
Thought we had one at one
I think
point,
there's one
but-
out there.
Yeah, let me
Mr.
see, I
Murphy.
don't know if we have it with us tonight, we could certainly provide it. At one point, I thought we had a plan, but I don't see it now, and we didn't give it to you, Ms. Morgan, already, did we? Yeah,
Because I know I kind of agreed with Mr. Easy, I'd like to see, I think it could be a good thing if it's gonna complement the existing building. But it doesn't, this drawing doesn't really show it.
no, I was focusing on the,
The new building will be almost an exact duplicate, almost, as to what the exterior of this existing building looks like.
So the roof will be the same, the roof will
Same
pitch the same?
roof, same front portico area, with the columns, same window style, I think it's 5/4 windows. Yes.
siding will be the same.
What's that?
The shingles or siding will be the same.
Clapboard siding on this one, clapboard siding, which is the same that's on the existing
Will
one.
you do the brick ends?
I think the plan, we're gonna have to do some work on the brick ends, yes, I think we're gonna have to do some work on them.
I don't see it, Dave. I
Yeah,
don't think so.
well, we can provide one to the board. See what renderings we have. I thought we had them, but we can get those. And if the board members want to see them, we can certainly provide them to you.
All right, anything else, Murph?
No.
Jack, you got something?
I think we've gone over most of it. I'm very familiar with the structure and the work that's been done to it. And I think, what do we have, an 800 square foot footprint, something like that?
It has, the footprint, it would be a 18 by 38, which is what,
The proposed
13,
one is 20 by
1400.
38. You mean the existing?
No, the new
The
edition.
new one is proposed 20 by 38. I think that's on the plan.
it is.
Yeah.
So that's what we got,
1520?
760 feet per floor.
1520, a total of 1,520.
1520 for the two floors.
I mean, I think my biggest concern was basically making it relate to what's there.
And it will.
So, but I think the rest of the board members have pretty much gone over everything without repeating what their concerns are. I did have some until tonight, but basically, I would think it would, you're allowed a 50% increase, I think, by right anyway,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
So, 50% of the existing structure is not gonna do you any good.
Correct.
So basically, you've already got permission by zoning to go that figure, right? 50% of the existing.
As
Which
a
is
matter of right, as a
684.
matter of right, we
Right,
could
yeah.
do
684?
You're not gonna-
50% of the existing
Technically, you
building.
can't build anything for that.
No.
It would be meaningless, you know, again, if we went back to what the building used to be,
Mhm.
it'd be easier to fit it in.
Probably. yeah. Yeah.
Eddie, touch on the, what Chairman Brady asked you regarding the future use of this. Is this gonna be an ownership situation? Or, and the reason I'm touching on is because, you know, it's been well documented, there's been issues down there with the tenants and
Yeah.
some of the past.
In the past,
In the
yes.
past. So, I guess, from a neighborhood perspective, with the possibility of your son moving there,
Ownership.
are they gonna be ownership?
That's the plan,
Okay.
you know, ownership.
How do you plan on doing that?
Convert it to a two-unit condominium.
You just do a condominium, but,
You can't do that to begin with?
Well,
can't with one
that's a
unit.
question of form of ownership, which really is outside of zoning, but I know that more often we prefer people to have home ownership opportunities. So the way to do that, you can't do it now, because you can't have a one-unit condominium, but you could, if we are allowed to build the second unit as requested, then he could turn it into a two-unit condominium, and that would allow for ownership opportunities for people occupying the separate units, the two units. You can't condition it on that,
No,
Mr. Chairman?
I get that, the only, I mean,
There's
you're
two
damned
deeds
if you do,
coming
damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantees,
Well,
that's
what's
what
your
that's
If
gonna
I
happen.
can, if I can answer the question, I'm currently renting out 241 Pleasant Street to Donna Gately. She's a long time, I guess she's been a resident of Norwood for quite a few years. My son and his wife have shown interest in, as I said, they're currently living on Walpole Street. I mentioned to them, if I can get this approved, this could be an opportunity to obtain ownership. So if I'm fortunate enough to get the relief.
Would it be part of Pleasant Ridge?
No, no, not at
Standalone?
all, no. As you remember in the past, we've come before the board seeking an area variance to tear down the existing building and build a new building which is similar in design to the Pleasant Ridge condominiums, and that didn't fly over that well.
Well, I mean, again, I can hear Mr. Riley saying that there was land stolen from this lot to give to Pleasant Ridge. And in a perfect world, if that land was there, you wouldn't, you know, would you have 15,000?
I can't remember if it put it over the 15 maybe, but I don't remember how many feet were taken.
That lot's
And the
huge.
other
It's
thing
resident,
is,
it's
the
huge.
the Talbot House on the other side is a separate two-unit condominium. A lot of houses have been converted that way.
You know, when I did.
Can I gotta interrupt you, I apologize. Let me move on a little bit, just so I can get some members of the audience if they're interested, because I do have a full slate tonight, I apologize. But
That's okay.
anybody in the audience wanna be heard regarding this, just do me a favor, stand up, state your name and your address, please.
My name is Nancy Cotapatry, and I live at 251 Pleasant Street.
1 second. Do we get that? Okay, go ahead. Thank
And
you.
I was
I
born-
couldn't spell it
born and
for the
raised
next hour,
in this
but
town.
okay.
I left for a while, but this is home to me. And I'm living in the family home that I grew up in. And I don't oppose to Eddie doing any building or construction, whatever he does. I'm sure it's gonna look nice. I would prefer that he knock that building down only because as I'm coming out of the driveway, it's in my way.
I remember now.
But it doesn't matter if they, I'm not opposing anything he wants to do. What I do have some concerns is that land pitches right into my yard. And I'm concerned about a water issue. So I would like the property graded somehow, or I'd like a stone wall extended, so I don't have to deal with any water issues. Because as it is, that every time it rains, that fence is leaning towards my property. I've addressed it, and, Eddie and I are on the same page with that, but I'd like that addressed if this is approved and we go forward, that the landscaping is improved. So I
And you
don't
guys have already
so I
talked
don't
about
have an
this?
issue with water, that's my biggest concern.
I don't blame you.
Because it pitches into my yard.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Nobody else on this matter? Did you wanna add something? I don't know what everybody's here for, so I didn't wanna make sure we didn't have
My next guess.
20 people, huh? Okay, all right. Anything else from the board? Do you guys wanna see a rendering of this before we make a decision?
Well, I mean,
Or
he's
we
telling
not
us
that-
he's gonna try to make it look as, to resemble the antique home that's there now. I mean,
Okay.
I just wanna make a suggestion, I don't know how the rest of you feel about it, but would the applicant be amenable to keeping the footprint the same size and stepping it back a little bit, so that the historical building on brick facade on both sides can be seen?
I can address that. The current building is 18 feet deep by 38 feet long. We could surely live with a building that's 18
Matching.
feet that's matching.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, I would feel better if it was the same footprints and it was stepped, you see how you have it right up against it? I'd like to, if you could step it back. Do you know what I mean?
Mr. Easy, the reason is, that in order to, I think, to qualify for the two-family, both units have to be attached. You have to have a minimum
12
of
feet.
12 feet of common wall.
12 feet of connection.
Okay.
So, and the reason it's stepped back is because, by stepping it back, we meet all of the required setback requirements
Okay.
for the town of,
But you're not opposed to keeping having a matching footprint to the existing
no,
antique
I
home?
wouldn't be opposed to that.
I think it's bigger. It doesn't,
I think it is a little bit bigger, yeah.
It's 2
A
feet
couple of feet.
deeper. This building, the existing building is 18 feet deep. This new one will be 20 feet deep. Just gives you a little more depth in the units, but if, it could surely be 18 feet deep.
You good with that?
I'm fine with that. I trust what he's telling you, that he's gonna try to resemble the 200-year-old house as much as possible. He's got a good reputation in the community as being a solid builder. I trust what he's gonna say. I don't think we need to,
The new building is gonna look, the front elevation is gonna look like the elevation I just showed you, Paul, okay? I think,
The only other, I'm more so
Okay.
willing to trust that you're gonna do the right thing by your neighbor.
I will. I mean, Nancy and I have talked about the runoff, and maybe what we do is we raise the elevation of the wall a little bit so we don't have the water just cascading onto Nancy's lot.
But I remember, Eddie, there was a line of sight issue for Nancy coming out of her driveway too, so I don't know if that'll solve the riddle.
I
Or whether you can, yeah, I mean, was that it last time, Nancy, too? That was an
Yeah,
issue.
But that's if he was gonna knock it down. I wanted it set back a bit, but since
Well,
they're not
there's-
going to do that, I can live with anything,
There's a
the
number of
water.
ways that,
except the water.
yeah, there's a number of ways that Eddie could show you that the drainage could be corrected away from this board, so.
So I
Yeah.
go down Pleasant when I come out of my driveway rather than go up.
All right.
Well,
Any-
So-
Anything else from anybody else in the audience, please? Anything else from the board?
Motion to close?
All right.
Second.
All right, motion to close, been seconded. All
Motion.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve the application is submitted
with,
with the
With the
proviso that it's now instead of 20 deep, it's 18 to
18.
match the existing Sutherland
Yeah.
home.
it's 18 deep and required to correct whatever needs to be done with the wall, is that right?
Yes.
Just
the
to
drainage.
prevent, you know what,
The drainage.
just to make sure the
Drainage.
drainage is taken care of as.
It might be a wall, it might be some other means, but we understand Ms. Cotapatri's
I don't care how you do it, as long as she's happy.
Yeah, we'll work with
It
her.
doesn't
to-
necessarily have to be a wall.
Right.
Okay, so with the stipulations, all those in favor of approval?
There was second, I didn't hear
It
a
was
second.
seconded by Mr. Murphy. So all those in favor?
All right,
Okay.
Ms. Morgan, do you get those? Because I didn't get them all, but,
Mr. Mulvihill
um,
made the
to
proposal
cut, scale back
to scale
Yeah.
back from 20 to 18
18 feet in depth
and to positively make sure that the drainage issue is
and
addressed.
deal with drainage for number 251.
That's correct.
All right, that's
And
the
you're gonna
motion.
keep the brick facade on the existing. All right, Ed,
Right.
good luck.
Okay, five,
Unless you
nothing,
want the
thanks.
brick.
You want to, Mr. Chairman,
You wanna
might
put
wanna
brick
vote
on the new one?
You might want to vote on it.
We did vote
I
on
didn't hear, I
Five
heard
to
the vote on
nothing.
closing.
Five to
Nothing.
nothing.
it. We did vote on it,
Okay.
5-0.
Busy taking notes.
5-0, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you.
5-0.
But why would you change
I'm
it?
going to appoint you to
It's not
council.
easy to repoint.
It is.
All right, thank you very much.
Covers his
Thank
tracks.
you very much.
Good night.
Good luck,
All right,
Ed.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Good luck, Nancy. Obviously, stay in contact with Eddie. I'm sure that he'll, you know, not gonna shed any water
He
on.
and I are both school alumni, so.
We
I'm gonna-
graduated together. I haven't seen you in what, four?
No, don't say it. Don't
careful.
say it.
Ah!
All right, next case up is 9 Upton Avenue.
I knew her.
Yeah,
get my
remember Nikki
votes.
Cotapatri's? Yep. He was a big dude.
We had a lot of fun. We were always in home room
Another
together.
one, no.
This kid here?
No, her brother.
No,
Absolutely devoured him.
I don't know.
Such a nice guy.
Good. All right, case number 1917, 9 Upton Avenue. The application requests a special permit under 3.1.5, 3.1.6, and 5.4 of the zoning bylaw to allow conversion of an existing non-conforming single-family dwelling, existing, oh, all right, threw me out, same day. July 21st, 1927, to a two-family dwelling on a lot meeting current lot requirements for a single-family dwelling. It's basically the same thing.
But easier.
With said proposed second dwelling conforming to all setback requirements of the zoning bylaws, but increasing the habitable floor area of the original structure by more than 25%, together with such other relief as the ZBA may determine appropriate. That moving forward, do you have, could I please the affidavit and the notifications, please?
Right there, Mr. Chairman?
All right, beautiful, thank you. Affidavit's good. And the notification, Paul, if you could, buddy. And Jack, please.
I have July 11th.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
I have, July 18th, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, having been met, Dave, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for the record, David Hearn Jr., 470 Washington Street, representing Dean Bavarnik as the applicant. Mr. Bavarnik is seated next to me. This concerns property at 9 Upton Ave. Also with us this evening is Judy Gale, whose family has owned this property. Going back to, actually, I'm told when it was in the Gale family.
Who's that?
Ms. Gale is in the back
Oh,
in the
all
pink.
right. Hi.
And it's been owned by the Gale family and other members of that family under other names going back to the beginning. The house was built in the early 1900s. It falls within that same footnote that we were discussing on the previous case. What is proposed here is, in addition to the existing single-family house at 9 Upton Ave, that the addition itself will conform in all respects to the zoning requirements in terms of setback. The lot itself is in excess of 10,000 square feet. It's 11,978 square feet. So it exceeds the 10,000 square foot requirement of footnote number 1. This is an addition, as I said, that will conform in all respects. And we could do it as a matter of right in terms of the 50% requirement. The proposed addition will have 1,136 square feet. The current house is 2,397 square feet. I've given you my memorandum with respect to the special permit considerations, as well as a letter from the architect who measured the existing dwelling to give us the square footage, so we could do that calculation. The 2,397 divided by 2 is 1,198.5 square feet. We're proposing an addition that is a total on 2 floors of 1,136 square feet. So we conform. The only reason we're here is because the existing building is non-conforming. It does not conform to the setback requirements. On the Upton Ave side, it's on the Highview Street, because this is a corner lot, we don't have the required 20 feet. We missed by a couple of feet. So that makes it a non-conforming house or structure. Anytime we add on to it, we need to come before this board, unless we fall within the exceptions allowed in the non-conforming section 5 of the bylaw, that gives the building inspector authority. However, the building inspector's authority is limited to additions that don't exceed 25%. He could have allowed it if the addition were only 25% increase in floor area. Because we're going under the footnote and looking for an increase that is something under 50%, but more than 25%, we need this board to make a finding and grant a special permit on the basis of this addition, this alteration to the building, not being substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing conditions.
How much is it? Do you know how much it is? More than 25%?
It's just under 50,
It's
right?
just under 50%.
Just under 50.
Yeah.
So it met the.
We're
I knew
not
you
even-
said under 50.
But we're still, we're allowed to, the use is allowed as a matter of right, so long as we don't exceed 50%.
Yeah.
But the reason we're here is because
No, I get that.
that non-conforming structure.
I
And we
missed
can't
all
do
of it.
anything about that because the structure is, was built before there was zoning. Building goes back to, I think it was about 1907. And I think there's a misstatement. I said the family has had it since the mid-1940s. That's under that name. There was a related family member with a different last name that had it really going back to the early 1900s when it was built. That's all we're dealing with. They've had conversation with some of the neighbors who've indicated good luck, no opposition. And I understand somebody called the zoning office today and expressed some concern about something, and maybe you'll hear about that tonight. But this conforms in all respects. It has adequate parking. It has adequate setback on the proposed addition. Does not violate any of the dimensional requirements and does not violate footnote 1 in any respect. That's why we're here. It's actually a simpler case than the one you just dealt with, Mr. Chairman.
You think?
I'm pretty confident it is. I hope you see it that way too.
All right. The one question I had is I noticed that slope off the side
Yeah,
when you're facing the structure.
yes.
What do you plan on doing to level that off?
So we're bringing in material.
How much?
I don't, whatever the engineer says I need to bring in, but I know he told me we have to bring in some material.
Of loam?
Yes.
That's a considerable amount, but, okay.
Well,
It's
fill,
fine.
it won't necessarily be loam
I
because we're
get you.
burying it, but
I get you.
loam on top.
All right. Thought you said it was easy.
Hmm?
Thought you said it was easy.
It is easy.
I hope so. All right, Paul, what do you got, please?
So basically, this is, first of all, who are the people here?
Ms. Galley in pink, it's her family has had it.
Okay, so,
driveway,
No.
gonna be.
1300
Washington,
on the
corner of.
Mr. Chairman,
guys all
Mr.
own
Chairman.
this
No,
place?
no,
I
no,
was-
no,
I'm
Mr.
just
Chairman.
trying to figure out who.
Mr. Risi's asking who owns it
Right. 'cause
and
I was
what family owns it.
And
Ms.
that's-
Galley is of the family that
She's
owns
the
it.
owner, that's what I
Other
thought.
people
And the
might
gentleman
be
is,
neighbors. He's part of they're friends of the family and he's proposing with the Galleys to develop it
Okay.
into a 2-unit building.
So is it gonna be two, in the last proposal was 2 deeds. In the last proposal, there were 2, he was gonna sell them as. they were-
Mr. Musto's case, which is certainly different from this, but The idea was that he would probably end up doing it as a condominium. His son was interested in possibly buying one of the units. You plan to turn this into a condominium?
Both we are
And
planning
sell
to
off the
sell,
units.
yes.
Okay.
Not build and sell, not build and hold, not build and rent, but build and sell.
Who lives there now?
It's vacant right now.
It is.
Yes,
How
we're-
long?
Yep. Well, there was a family member that ended up in a nursing home, and so that led to the vacancy.
Who lived there, who owned it? She was an owner, or he was an owner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, it's gonna be these are gonna be condominiums and they're gonna be owner occupied.
Correct.
Well, they're gonna be condominiums, like, you
Right,
can't,
right,
we
right.
can't
So
say who's gonna
in
live
this
there, we can't
existing
guarantee
picture,
that, one way or another.
it's, the addition's gonna go closer to
To the right.
the neighboring
Yeah,
structure there.
yeah, that distance from the existing structure to the lot line is, well, we have 106 feet of frontage. And we're gonna have, from the existing house over to the line is now better than 50 feet, probably 55 feet or so.
Okay.
We're going to add on to that, and we're still going to have 15.6 feet at the nearest point, because there's a slight angle the way the house fits in against the lot line. The nearest point is 15.6, which exceeds the 15, barely, but it exceeds the 15-foot requirement.
Okay, now just, it's just a basic question. I thought it was 15,000 square foot and 90-foot frontage. In these cases, we're coming in with 11,900. Could you explain that to me?
Again, there is for houses that were built before zoning took effect, single-family houses built before zoning took effect on July 21st, 1927. There is an exception under footnote 1 of the bylaw
So-
that allows conversion
Right.
of those houses to a two-family house, provided that the structure is on a lot that meets the single-family requirements, which is 10,000 square
Square
feet
feet.
in the general district. It does
Right.
not apply in all districts,
Right.
but it applies in the general
If
residence.
there wasn't a house on that lot, you wouldn't be here.
Correct.
You couldn't do this. Because.
No, we would need 15,000
Right,
feet to
I
do it
get
as a
it,
matter
I
of right.
understand it.
But
So you're
this
coming
is
in
the-
under that exception.
This is a special
Right.
provision that allows for older houses to be converted to two-family.
I understand. I have no further questions.
Pat?
David, I'm just looking back in the case file in 2010 when the Gales were in here to subdivide and do their lots on Highview. I actually chaired it, and it was in 2010. So I just want to make clear, kind of along the lines of what Paul was saying. You want to take a single family as a matter of right on the corner of Upton and Highview, convert it to a 2, and then add on by knocking the garage down and putting another unit up on lot 18?
No. If I can show you this,
Well,
this is, if you look at the plan that we filed with this application,
yep,
lot 10-2 is a separate, single-family lot,
yep.
10,279 square feet. That's been approved by the planning board.
Oh,
Approval
that
not
was that.
required.
Did you went through that
We did an A&R plan and
recently?
created, within the last year, we did lots 10-1, which has the existing house, and 10-2, which is a vacant piece of land.
So
this-
10-2 is gonna be built upon?
10-2 is gonna be built upon, it will be a
Single?
single family. Right, it's all it can be.
That cleared up my question because I thought you were carrying this over to that as well, so. So it is basically on the lines of what Ed just came forward with, so with the 50% criteria, where Eddie's was 684 to 1,500, what are you?
We have,
50% would take you to what, and then you're asking what?
50% would be 1,198.5. We have 1,136. We're less than the 50%.
Okay,
The only reason we're here is because the existing building is non-conforming. So for us to make any alteration
Right.
to a non-conforming,
Right?
It's 25%, no, it's over 25%.
it's this front setback.
Yeah.
We get plenty of frontage.
Oh, the front setback.
The
short by
front
a couple of
setback
feet, right?
on the side street side, but it counts as front setback because it's a corner lot, is less than 20 feet.
It's like 17 point.
17 point,
19.8,
Well,
That's where I need the magnifying glass.
I will say for the
17.9.
record, I'm looking at the decision in 2010, the board had voted unanimously in the Gales, excuse me, no, you were denied. 3-2,
That-
right?
That was an entirely different proposal.
I understand,
Yeah.
and we denied it, why?
I have no idea, I wasn't involved.
Phil Mackey was.
What were they asking for?
Well, they were doing what I think they just did on Highview. They were trying to build on, oh, here it is, they were trying to build on 7,400 square feet and smaller lots than 10,000.
Yeah, I was aware of something involving 7,400 square feet, so we redrew the lines
Actually, I voted for it, so
along, thank you, Mr.
I was one in the affirmative, so.
We redrew the lines because the original plan for this property had multiple smaller lots, and Highview Streets had those,
Right.
smaller lots. That was quite common, quite typical,
Right.
when those lots were laid out.
So-
But as I said to the applicant, you can't build on those nowadays.
So let me
we
ask you
took-
this, David, what am I
Great.
gonna hear from the neighbors that are here? Have you talked with the neighbors, echoing a former member here? Have you
Yeah.
chatted with the neighbors, and what
Yes.
has been the concerns of some of them?
No concerns voiced to my folks. I learned today that somebody, a neighbor, might have some concerns, and we'll be happy to hear them and try to respond to them.
Okay.
But we've heard only positive from the people that my clients have talked to in the immediate, those who face the property and or would be directly affected by, in addition to the structure going up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, Scott,
Mr. Hearn, is the existing garage that's in the back, is that gonna be is that gonna stay?
We'd like to keep it, yeah, we don't plan to demolish it, we might, but, I don't know, Dean, what do you think?
The plan is for it to stay.
And the other question I have is, it looks like there's a driveway extending up past the property line into Upton Avenue. The way it's drawn, it looks like it is. Is that not correct?
I think what they're showing there is that the actual pavement will have to go down to the paved way,
Okay,
but it will be, as many driveways are.
okay.
that
So that's
cross-
just showing that on this plan. It doesn't
Right.
have to, but it is
Right,
showing.
and we're showing that we can put a car in the spot.
You can put two cars in there. it looks
Put two,
like.
and then there's one in the garage. You see there's a garage spot
It's
that's
two
full.
yeah, there's two garages.
Right, but one full-size garage, so that gives us the three that we need.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, plus you also have the
We've got four on the other
on
one,
the other side.
yeah.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I think it fits, it looks good, and I think it fits the neighborhood. The neighborhood's all two families.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just gonna say, basically, it's, according to the submission, it's a non-conforming situation, right?
correct.
And we're adding to.
It's an extension of a
we're extending
non-conformance?
a non-conformance.
Right.
And that kind of bothers me, because basically aren't we increasing the non-conformity?
No, you're not. You're not increasing the nonconformity. The nonconformity is on the Highview Street side of the existing house that was built in 1907.
Yeah,
It's nonconforming in that it is too close to the street line.
right.
We're not changing that. We're not doing anything that creates a new nonconformity, nor are we doing anything that exacerbates that nonconformity. We're not touching that side of the building. Everything we're building is to the other side of the building and is far
Which-
enough back
Which
in
will
terms of
conform.
setback. It will
Which
conform
will
in all
conform
respects.
Totally.
Yeah,
So the only thing is that instead of, you have less than 50%, but we have to approve anything over 25%, the
Exactly.
way the bylaws are written.
nope. You have to approve an alteration of an existing non-conforming structure.
More than 25%.
You have to, any non-conform, well, yes,
this case.
Mr. Schubert could have done
25%.
if we're 25%. But, once it goes over that, you've gotta make a finding that there's not a substantial detriment.
Right.
And the finding is then made part of a special permit. In some towns, you simply have to make the finding under section 6. In our bylaw, you make the finding as part of the special permit. But that's the real question you have to face.
What's the
Is
condition
this
of the existing house, David? In disrepair, is it in good repair?
habitable?
It's
Dean?
habitable, but we are going to fix it up and redo the kitchen, make it look nice.
And that's a single,
That is a single.
so there's gonna be
Two singles,
two singles.
side by side. Yeah. We couldn't do anything else. You can't have three-family.
Can't have three, no.
Can't have a new three-family.
yeah.
There are, I think, some multifamilies in that district, but, in that
Is it
neighborhood.
G?
I'm not
What
sure,
is it?
but,
Look at the
it's a
G.
general residence,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can have singles and twos, a matter of right.
Sorry, Jack.
All right. Anything else, buddy? All right. All right, I'll go to the audience. Just stick to the facts, please. That's all I ask. We'll start with this young lady
Could
over
you sit
here.
up closer here?
She can do whatever she wants.
Okay.
Do you wanna,
Whatever's easier. She doesn't even have to
Paul, you
stand
wanna
if she
take
doesn't
that?
want to.
Okay, I,
No, you wanna stand, or you wanna sit?
No, wait a minute.
Just make sure I get her name, would you, and her address if you
This
don't
is
mind?
Miss Jenny Ambrosevich.
I've lived there since 1950.
The address
And
is,
the backyard, the extension of the backyard is gonna be a couple, whoops, I don't
Yeah,
wanna.
careful of
trip.
that, I can't, that's taped.
that's the
It's
cord
gonna
that's
be
connected to the.
right close to my fence, where the garage and my driveway
This
is.
is,
And we put the snow there.
for your convenience, for the gentleman's convenience,
Alright.
that's her garage. Okay, and the property line is there, okay?
Alright.
And I have not, if you have a drawing of where you propose to, where the new structure is
Right here.
proposed to be?
That's this Upton,
Yeah, okay, and this is,
Okay.
and where's the property line?
property line is over here.
Okay,
It's gonna be right next to the fence.
okay, well, how close is that going to be, sir?
It's as far away as the zoning bylaw requires.
What,
It's-
number
it's
of
greater
feet,
than
please, sir?
15, Mr. Chairman, can we know who we're dealing with? I don't have names.
I'm
and
her son.
addresses.
Just give me,
This is my son,
all right,
Thomas.
hold on.
Sorry,
I didn't catch the
I
last
got
name.
your name.
Jenny Ambrosevich.
Jenny
My name is
Ambers-
Tom Burnson, I'm also a resident of the house at the time, at
Okay.
this time.
Do me a
Okay,
favor,
and-
just,
and I-
hold on one second.
Okay, sir.
Don't get carried away,
All right,
all right? Just, we're all on the same page here. You state your business and he'll respond,
okay,
okay?
okay, my mother's concern is the distance the building is going to be from her
I
property line.
get that.
Okay. Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I'm happy to answer that. 15.6 at the nearest corner. In the front, it exceeds that.
That's 15 and a half feet,
More than, yeah.
okay? 15.6 is 15 and a half, correct?
A little more than 15.5 is 15 and a half, so it's a little more than 15 and a half feet.
15.6
to
is
the
15 and a
boundary.
half. All right.
This is much more.
Okay, I wanna
That's,
know. okay.
he's required to keep it at least 15 feet off your property.
15 feet.
Yes, that's what the requirement is from the side property, is to keep it 15 feet from the property line, which is what they've proposed to do.
But why did she wanna buy land from me before, so she could, before she
Who's
wanted?
she?
Judy.
Ms.
Mrs.
Gailey.
Mrs.
I
Gailey.
can't, I can't answer that, I'm sorry.
Okay, but, I mean, she did try to buy land from me, and I didn't sell,
Okay,
and I still think I'm gonna have problems.
okay,
it.
with all due respect, what relevance does that have, or what they wanna do right now?
The extension that's gonna come down to my backyard, and the fence is there. And, it's,
That's the best picture.
What's the problem you think is gonna come from it?
I think when the snow comes and it's gonna go right onto their house, the extension part. Doesn't it have to be, this is gonna be 15 feet?
It's 15, the property that they're proposing is 15 feet away from your property line,
From my property line?
yes.
15.6.
Here's the property
It's actually
line
more
right
than
here.
15
Yeah.
feet.
Here's the
Yeah.
property line. We have to
15
be
and a
at
half.
least 15 feet away from that. We're 15.6 feet away from the property line.
Okay. Well, I guess,
Well, okay,
What's the, I don't understand what your concern is, though, there's some,
well, another former neighbors came up and he said they're gonna build the extension right next to my fence where the driveway, the cement driveway.
that's not allowed, so that wasn't accurate. Now you know it's 15 feet, that's coming from me, that isn't coming from these two.
No, it wasn't coming from that, no, but I
Okay.
mean, I know they, all right, I guess there's nothing I can do about it then.
Well, yeah, but I'd rather you understand that it meets the requirement for what we're required to do, and it meets that requirement. I don't want you to think that your voice is going unheard here,
No,
you know what I mean? So I
No,
just,
no, this is, you gentlemen are here, this is fine.
Yeah, if he was coming in for asking for 10 or 6 or 7, if he was coming in asking for a relief from 15 down to 10 or in your example, thinking that it was gonna go right on your fence, like 1 foot away,
He wouldn't get it.
then, yeah, the flags would have been raised, we would have been all over him, it just,
He wouldn't have got that.
Now, is it gonna be level the way it is, because there's like an incline?
We discussed that, did we not?
Yes.
I'm
and-
sorry, I'm hard of hearing.
No, I'm just
very.
verifying that I'm right.
Oh,
I wanna make sure I'm right, all right?
oh,
In the beginning of the meeting, I discussed the slope in the property that goes
right,
towards
you
your
did,
house.
yeah. So
So
it's
what-
gonna be the
He's
flat like
proposing
it is.
earth and fill,
Yeah, but we need to fill it in by where the buildings meet.
yeah,
Beyond that, the plan shows the slope going from about 103 down to
99.
99.
99, it looks like.
99 is the dimension called out nearest the fence. So that's,
4
so
feet.
a few
4
feet,
feet.
maybe 4 feet coming down from the side of the house to the fence. There's already slope
So
there.
is all that water gonna come in my property then?
well, it sounds like the issue is already existing because of the slope that exists already.
Yeah,
If
but
anything, I think it's gonna better the situation, I mean, I'm not God,
Well, they're gonna
but I think
improve
it's,
drainage.
yeah, they're gonna improve the drainage with the leveling off of the area that they need to build a
The
house
town
on
will
top.
require proper drainage.
Yeah, they won't, yeah, they,
legally, he can't shed more water onto your property than's currently the situation now. So he can't make your situation worse than it currently is. So that's where the oversight comes in with Mr. Schubert, the Department of Public Works, the engineering. So
Yeah, okay.
that's why there's a stamp on the plan.
I mean,
so.
basically, the lot is staying just as it is now. That's the bottom line.
it's pretty much, yeah, what he's saying is it's basically gonna be equivalent to what
That's
it
what
is
it's there
now,
now.
if not better.
There was a misunderstanding, gentlemen, as to how close it was going to be to the property
No
line.
problem.
I think that's the whole issue.
No problem.
No,
Okay.
that's
I don't-
fine.
I don't-
If it's
Hopefully
everything-
answer the question.
Everything's within the law, then it is.
Yeah, I don't blame you, and there'll be improvement to it. All right, do me a favor, stay right there. She can stay
You
there.
don't have to move.
You
She
can stay,
there
Jen.
too.
Stay there?
I might
Anybody
need you
else
for-
on this
I
matter?
might need you for the next case.
Why, no, I don't think you, I can't hear.
All right, hold,
That's better.
hold, stay right there, all right, you're the new guest there.
It's gonna be.
Do me a favor, just stand up, tell me your name and your address, please.
Angela Gironda, I'm on 10 Upton Ave,
Okay,
and it's gonna be 2 additions, right? On
there's
the-
gonna be one
One.
addition.
Or just the one? Oh.
Yeah, but he's gonna have the existing house, and there's gonna be one addition adjacent to it,
Oh, okay. That's what I wanna know, just don't, I don't understand.
okay? Anybody else?
Actually, one further question, that's gonna be 15 feet of just grass, right? Next to-
Presumably.
Next to the property line.
Right?
And that's not gonna be a
15 feet.
driveway or anything.
15 feet a yard. The driveway, Mr. Chairman, is proposed to be in the front of the building, coming in at about the midpoint of the frontage. So
They
it will
have
not be on that
garages.
side, it'll be about the midpoint of
Garages
the
are
Upton
here.
Ave frontage.
So that's just gonna be empty space, and that's
Garages
it.
are in the middle.
Sounds like it.
Right,
Okay.
it'll just be a side,
Oh,
it'll
it's
be
in
a
the
side
middle.
yard.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the garages are in the middle.
They're in the middle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
That's-
yeah, it
that's
is,
the one
it's
on
15
Upton
feet a
Avenue,
yard,
not
yeah.
on Highland Street.
Looks like
Right.
15 feet a yard on the other side.
Yeah.
That's the drawing, looks like. That's the drawing that'll be approved, so they can't sway from that.
Very good, sir.
You good with,
Actually-
you good with that?
Jeez,
I guess
the
I am.
driveway would be another 30 feet probably.
All right, anybody else on this matter? Anything else on the board?
Motion to close?
Motion to close,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Pleasure of the board.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. Well, we're not done yet, so hang on
Yeah.
a second.
Huh?
Hang on one second.
Well, I feel like it's gonna be a big improvement to the neighborhood. I mean, he meets all the lot area requirements, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
there's no interior enlargement, enlargement of the foundation.
Right.
That
Not
everything's-
touching the original.
Right.
The
It's
existing
gonna stay the
stays
same.
just as it is.
So,
And as far as an improvement to the neighborhood, there's gonna be basically 2 new structures, and then Mr. Hearn just testified that there's this new single-family lot next door that's gonna have another new structure, so, 3 almost new, well, 2 new, and then a third one of almost new, can only complement the neighborhood, and, certainly it's not more detrimental to the neighborhood,
No,
you know,
not at
so.
all.
I make a motion that we approve the application
Second.
as submitted.
Okay, approved by Mr. Easy. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, 5-0. Congratulations.
Good
luck.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Always,
Thank you.
Always
Thank
important.
you.
Always
Thank you very
important.
much.
Thanks.
And I found a new street.
You're a
now
good
and-
son.
But he has to, I can't get up.
That's right.
I'll take this.
All right, next up, 655 Pleasant Street.
We need a second just to get the easel set up, Mr. Chairman.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, what's that cord there? Oh, sorry, buddy. Yep.
And we knew we could, you know,
My daughter's, one of my daughter's friends in junior high lived with, I lived, so I used to drive. So I knew that was over.
I had no clue.
Used to come to my father's market.
No, I know, but built before a certain age. Yeah.
We're only half an hour. Half an hour.
They have to be, they can't be in every district. I think it's only in general.
In general.
Yeah, because you're allowed to, you can't do it in
Well,
one, I know.
the
Sometimes we have a lot of hearings.
We most
same thing.
Mostly we do
Extension of non-conformance.
scheduled
You know,
two
we
hearings.
try and tear the
And I told her
tear the
before,
two-car,
No, but that
you
should,
can't do
tear the
5
two-car
hearings.
garage.
that was
down
definitely the
and
last
build a
week.
structure up there,
Right.
we're extending the non-conformance.
No, wasn't.
Do we have this already, Mr. Hearn?
You might. I don't know if you
You
do.
gave this to us,
You might. I have the recorded copy.
it is, we do have it.
I voted for that in 2010, and I think they said no. I don't know who voted against it, I should look it up.
I wasn't involved.
Yeah, it was Phil Mackey, but it was 7,500 square feet in the lots, and they needed 10, and they said no.
The next one is 655 Pleasant.
Correct.
Yeah. You'll get, you'll get
No,
rid
I was confused on that one.
after this.
Yeah, he'll explain what's going on. That's the one I wasn't really sure what that's all about.
DeLuca has chimed in on this, David, have you seen that?
He has, yeah.
A couple of times.
That was the issue, we had last, that Phil had last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
What, with the Mullen rule, or
No,
the
notice,
open lot?
The notice.
Oh.
The notice.
What's there now, Jack? This is, I know that's it, but what's there?
Well, it was Jack's storing cars there, right? Right. Yeah, yeah. The property's where Jack's storing cars there.
Where he was.
Yeah. And what, did you buy it?
No, it's renting. We have the property on here too.
Read the last paragraph of DeLuca's.
Oh, Jack didn't own that?
He bought across.
Oh, he bought across the
He
street,
and
that's,
Terry
yeah,
bought
Musto's,
across the
yeah, I know. Where Sal's landscape, I,
Yeah, I'm looking for my copy of what Dave sent over, but
This right here?
I have it, yeah. 4:36 PM?
Yes. Is it the last one?
Apparently it is. She called me around 4:30. She hadn't seen this one, to say it was back and forth. I hope we're out. I hope
Well, it
we're
starts
the
out
air.
with, when he puts ellipses in, you know, stop pausing to think while he's composing his email.
Yeah, all right.
All right. I do too.
Small enough table.
Okay.
Just
Dave,
look-
you wanna tell them we got another meeting going on? and
Yeah.
figure- It's your client.
Oh, yeah.
This is what we just, they asked us to
Okay.
look at the old map, that the old plan,
Yeah.
they were approved for.
Okay.
Ask engineering to calculate how much they would actually get.
Usually Mr. Mulvihill gets it, goes out to tell people to move.
No, I'm getting too old.
Thanks.
This is the old one?
What does that
Yeah,
put me?
that's what engineering came up with,
Okay.
so you guys can. And there was an email there from.
Okay.
Is this a problem?
I don't know.
That's an old plan, Mr. Perry, so that's your call.
Depends on who's looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm all right with it, as long as you can be open-minded, I'm
And
fine.
this is the plan of record.
Well,
This is
yes,
what our
yes.
engineering department came up with,
Yeah, do
based
it.
off
Close
of what
it.
they designed.
yeah, I would definitely
what's the
disclose
date on it?
Jack.
What's,
I would definitely disclose it.
That you were formally
anybody-
involved.
yeah.
Yeah, for the previous tenant, Jack. You know what I mean? Because here's the original,
And if they have a problem,
and that was from Mr. Madden. so, yeah.
Well, is Mr. Perry doing work for the current owner?
Not that I know.
No,
Okay,
no.
all right, I
That was
think,
the previous plan of the previous tenant.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's an issue.
Well, when he opens the meeting up, just
Yeah.
disclose it, so, you know what I mean?
Right, we'll address that right, we'll
I know.
address that right off the bat. So let me-
I have a moment.
I'm trying to figure out if I got paid or not.
That's a different story
the
altogether.
cameras are still
Sorry.
off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Helen Paul said. There was a problem.
All right, let me just get the, all right, this is 655 Pleasant Street, case number 0731, listed as a modification. And let me just read the memo outline, just to let you know what it is. Core and Main LP is a distributor of complete line of water, sewer, fire protection, and storm drain products to serve the needs of both municipalities and contractors in all aspects of the water, wastewater, storm, and fire protection industries. Hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 7 to 4:30 p.m., 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Our business is closed Saturdays and Sundays. They are leasing the facility at 655 Pleasant Street. The site is located near the railroad tracks and in a manufacturing zone used for industrial purposes. Immediately north of the site abuts an asphalt manufacturing plant. Currently, there is an existing building approximately 11,100 square feet located on the site that Core and Main plans to use for the wholesale business and storage. The property itself is 2.33 acres, with the remaining areas outside of the building footprint paved with asphalt. The building was previously leased by Jack Madden Ford and used as an automotive repair facility. There are 2 special permits for this facility issued on September 19, 2007. The first permit is for auto repairs under section 3210-H2. The second permit is for open lot storage under section 3310-G3. The applicant is requesting a modification to the special permit issued September 19, 2007 for 25% open lot storage under section 3310G3, case 0731, to allow storage of water, sewer, fire protection, and storm drain products as shown in Exhibit A, up to 27% coverage of the site for open lot storage. Frank Rebellion, am I saying that right?
Ribbelin.
Ribbelin, a professional land surveyor, okay, that's just the land surveyor, has provided plans that are submitted on this request. And existing survey, this survey is prepared by Core and Main, July 8, 2019. Prepared by Core and Main to propose, okay. All right, so there's a little bit of, confusion on this case, because I personally did not speak with town council. So today I've been told 2 different things from town council through an intermediary, okay? So we're gonna go with our gut on this one. And Dave, if you wanna take the reins for starters,
Sure.
you can tell me what your plan is and what you wanna do, and then we'll go from there. But
Happy to-
before we do that, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Jack, if you wanna just disclose that thing and make sure these guys are all right with it.
Yeah, that would be up to Dave.
Okay.
I mean, it's a plan I did many years ago as an as-built, just locating the structure that's on there.
I understand,
For Jack
Mr.
Madden
Chairman, that
Ford, and
Mr.
it has
Perry-
absolutely nothing
yeah.
to do with this case.
Mr. Perry did work for Mr. Madden, for Jack Madden
that's correct.
Ford, in connection with the, his use of the property that started back around 2007. My understanding, and Mr. Perry has disclosed that, is that he has no connection with the current owner of the property, nor does he have any connection with the current tenant of the property, my client, Core and Main. It just happens that he did a plan for a former tenant 12 or so years ago.
And you're using the plan?
No, we're not using that plan. We
No,
have our own
the
plan.
engineering,
Well,
yeah, our engineering is using as a reference plan.
I think that the engineering department may have looked at the plans that were in the file from that
Yes,
grant in 2007. I have no objection to them having done that.
you are
nor-
not using Mr. Perry's plan.
We're not using Mr. Perry's plan as our plan.
That should suffice,
We're not using
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Perry for any purpose. I have no objection, and I appreciate his disclosure, that he was involved years ago on another end of this
All right,
property.
we're all good with that.
Good.
Moving
Okay.
on.
So, for the record, David Hearn Jr., 470 Washington Street, appearing on behalf of Core and Main LP, which you've already read from their prior submission. They are a distributor. They distribute water pipes, hydrants, castings for drainage systems, and all that stuff that makes things work. With me this evening is Jason Reed, and also Frank Ribbelin, who is a surveyor. Mr. Reed is you're the district supervisor,
District manager,
manager
that's
for Core and Main. Core and Main has entered into a lease arrangement for the property at 655 Pleasant Street here in Norwood, and that's owned by P. Christopher Associates, that property, and Phil Balboni, sitting here, is the principal of P. Christopher Associates. And Core and Main is using the property for the distributorship. It has people coming and going. As you read to us previously, it's a Monday to Friday operation. The site at 655 Pleasant Street is about 101,000 square feet. And back in September of 2007, the board granted a special permit, actually two special permits to Jack Madden. The one that we're concerned with is the one that had to do with allowing open lot storage under section 3310 G3 of the zoning bylaw that was then in effect. And I've given you this evening a copy of the page from that zoning bylaw, the former zoning bylaw, that is the basis of this grant to Madden for the 655 Pleasant Street property. Now, that special permit, I would submit to you, is still in effect. And in fact, I would question whether there's any need even to come here. And I understand that Mr. DeLuca has looked at it and has raised some questions. Let me submit this. This board issued a special permit for open lot storage in 2007. You all have a copy of that. You may have had it already, but I printed out a copy today from the Registry of Deeds records, and I've distributed it to the members. That permit, as I said, was under use item 3310 G3, which allows open lot storage by special permit. It's the last item on that page I gave out. Open lot storage by special permit in the manufacturing zone, which is what we're dealing with. That special permit was not limited as to time. It was not limited as to tenant. So it continues to be in effect. Special permits run with the land unless a board under Section 9 of the Act specifically conditions it to a particular party or use. The special permit was not limited as to the materials being stored. It simply allowed open lot storage on the site. It was not specific as to how much was to be stored. It did not impose a condition on that. It did not put a limitation on how much of the parcel could be used for open lot storage. And this discussion about whether we're exceeding 25% or not exceeding 25%, I submit, Mr. Chairman, is a discussion that we do not need to have, because the bylaw that was in effect when the special permit was granted in 2007 said nothing about uses that were for open lot storage, nothing in terms of how much area. Now, there is a limitation when you're dealing with accessory uses, but this is our business. We sell pipes, hydrants, catch basin grates, whatever you need to keep the water going where it's supposed to go. And our stock in trade is stored on the site, and that's what we want to continue to do. We're operating now on a temporary certificate of occupancy because a question was raised whether we can do this as a matter of right. But I think that Core and Main, as the occupant of the property, has the right under the 2007 permit to continue the prior use, which was open lot storage. That open lot storage decision was not limited. If you care to read through it, you'll see there's no limitation as to who can use it or as to how much use can be made. Now, I know it was said that the engineering department did some calculations, counting spaces, and came up with a number of 15%, and that if we are proposing to use about 27%, or a little bit under 27%, which is what we think we need to use, we want to use, that's why we like this site. It gives us the space to do what we want to do with the building that's already in existence. But the calculation that was done that says, well, they were using 15 point something percent, and now they're proposing 27% or thereabouts, and that takes it out of the realm of using the existing permit and requires a new notice and all that. There's nothing in the 2007, the bylaw, nor in the decision that says it was limited to 15%. In fact, the use of that site over the years has involved a much greater use with hundreds of vehicles, and the vehicles stored there, by the way, weren't just your average automobiles. When I would drive by, most of what I saw was pickup trucks and larger trucks being stored
You're not
there.
gonna construct any of the pipe there, are you? Not manufacturing it?
We don't do any manufacturing.
No, we're just distributing, just like, that's our stuff that goes out.
Mr. Hearn, can
yeah.
I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
So, I think what the town council and the engineering department is saying though is since the plan that was with this special permit used 15 point something %, that you maybe you're bound by that. Is that a correct analysis of what town council's saying?
I think that, while the plan that was filed said nothing about the number of spaces we're going to use, it laid out spaces, but it said nothing about the number of spaces. In fact, the number of spaces shown here does not agree with the number of spaces referred to in the decision, which was information being given by the applicant, but was not being given as a condition and was not included as a condition in the decision itself. There are no conditions. If you read the conditions, you read the text of it and then look at the conditions at the end of it, nothing is there about what can be stored or how much of it can be stored.
So I
In
guess
fact, if I can, to
Okay.
finish that,
Sure.
over the years, we have one picture that has, this picture here has about 153 vehicles stored on it, taking up about 24,000 square feet. If we do the calculation for a parking stall for an individual automobile. Those aren't individual automobiles, those are trucks. They take up even more space. But we did a very conservative calculation. We have seen overhead shots, and Mr. Reed has shown me an overhead shot that has over 213 vehicles, and they stopped counting because the trees were shading some of them. Those would take up 33,500 square feet minimum. We don't even want that. We're looking for about 27,000 square feet.
So where did the 27% lot coverage number come from? That came from your client?
That's from us, yeah. And as we're saying, that's what we want to use. But I'm saying, I don't even know that, I'm not sure that we even need to come in for this relief. We have a
So what are you
permit.
asking us to do today? That's what.
I'm asking you to confirm that what we're doing is allowed under the terms of the special permit issued in 2007.
So this is not, as town council said, you don't think this is a substantive change which requires formal notice and hearing?
I say it's not a substantive change because it's not changing any of the terms of the actual decision. And the reference to the plan of record that was filed, this plan, stamped plan of record, says nothing about what the spaces are being used for. In fact, for open lot storage, you don't bother with curbs or landscaping in most cases. You do now when you go to the planning board on that, more so. And actually, the planning, if you look at the decisions that are made with respect to open lot storage by the zoning board and by the planning board, they state what is being stored and how many of those items can be stored. All of those decisions do that. The 2007 decision says nothing about that, how many vehicles are to be stored, what the limitation is. It imposed no conditions.
So I'll play Mr. Riley tonight because he's not here. So the Huntington case doesn't apply? Is what you're saying, that we
No,
can correct a
be-
clerical
because
error,
we're-
but if
we're-
it's.
No, it's not a clerical error.
Okay.
And it's the Huntington case, nor is it a modification. We're not asking you to modify it, we're asking you to confirm so that the building department will understand that we, as a matter of right, can use the land we propose to use for storage of our material. And I don't think the present decision prevents that. I think the present decision is a wide open decision, whether it's intended that way or not. The statute says you've got to state the conditions in the decision under section 9. That wasn't done. That means they don't exist.
David, can I
Sure.
interrupt you? Jack was only storing 15% down there
Well,
of the lot. It looked like he had the thing covered in cars
Absolutely.
and trucks.
Approved 15%,
But
well,
he-
no, I suggest it wasn't even approved for that.
approximately 15.
He was fence to
Here's-
fence
here's
with the
what's-
F-150. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
this is kind of a moot point as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we're going from four-wheel vehicles to pipe. I understand David's legal argument, but, I mean, he's not building anything down there. He's gonna be a going concern in the town, paying taxes. Balboni's been in the town for generations, so, I mean, it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. There's not LaRusso's adding an asphalt addition down there, so I think we might just be blowing hot air here, but that's what the respected council, so. Sorry.
Well, they're not, so you're not asking for any relief?
I don't think we need to ask for relief.
Okay.
I got involved in
How
this
about,
case
how about the fact that
on
you're going,
Thursday.
oh, wait a minute, how about the fact that you're going from 27%, 25% to 27%?
But there isn't a limit, the 25% limitation doesn't apply under the bylaw that was in effect when the decision was granted. So we're allowed to rely upon the decision that was granted in 2007. There was no
Which
limitation.
is carte blanche?
It says open lot storage. If they wanted to limit it, they had to put the conditions in the decision. They did not.
That goes along the same argument up Everett Street about the 600 cars to 250, basically.
Well,
know,
I'd rather not
and-
drag
well,
the
I'm-
other
I'm-
street
I'm
boards
just-
into this
You
discussion.
have a business in the town of Norwood, and he's telling, you know what I mean, how many people do you employ?
On that location, about 15.
Okay, you know what I mean, and they pay, like, Mr. Mulvihill said, that, you know, they pay real estate taxes, I mean, it's a building that's not empty. We gotta,
You don't have to talk me into it.
Right.
You know, and my only concern is that it's done right, so.
Yeah.
Should we
Well,
do a
I'm-
special, should we just
well,
do a special
I'm
permit and
saying
allow, I
that
mean.
this is what I'm getting at, do
Do
we have to
notice.
correct something
Right.
here, so
I-
that it's not ambiguous?
Yeah, I think what you could do would be to make a decision by which you determine that you believe that it's your decision that the special permit continues with no limitation on the open lot storage, no limitation as to either the amount of items or the area occupied by that. If you want to put a limitation on it, for the sake of confirming things for the future, I suppose we'd see if there's some percentage that we feel doesn't interfere with our working, but,
Well, if
you know, I
weren't
think
planning-
you're
if you
right, it
weren't
was wall
planning
to
on-
wall.
You get me all confused, Dave, because if you weren't planning on doing that, where's the 27% come from? So 27% of lot
We think
coverage,
we
you
need-
asked for that, not us.
So
That's right.
I was
Go
gonna say,
ahead,
so
Jason.
before we hired the attorney, we were going off of the 25%. So we did our proposal,
The
get up to
current
27. But once
I
we
see.
hired him, now the question is do we even need to ask for 27%?
Right.
Because maybe it's just.
See what happens when lawyers get
I
involved?
know.
I know.
Jack had
I'm trying to make
F-150s
it
from
easier.
fence pole to fence pole down there.
So what
You
do
know
we,
what I mean?
what do
So-
we do? I mean, what do we do
That's
tonight?
well, I think Mr. Hearn wants us to confirm the permit.
Let's do it.
The special
There's a
permit.
special permit.
Yeah,
in
I mean,
place.
I mean, I don't have a
Let's do it.
problem, I mean,
If you can tell, the building department is in doubt, but if this board says that the special permit is still in effect and allows the open lot storage that Core and Main, on that site, so that Core and Main can use that special permit for open lot storage, then we can get a permanent certificate of occupancy. Until that time comes, we can't get the permanent certificate.
So this isn't a hearing, so we can just,
No, it's
so we can just move to,
Again,
I
it
doesn't
is a
the special
modification,
permit
which
go
you
with
said
the
it
land?
wasn't, but
Yes,
it
the
is a
special permit
modification.
runs with the land.
It runs with
and
the land.
and it is
so-
recorded at the registry.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Runs with the land, it was not limited, it had no conditions attached to it. The plan that is on file does not indicate how many spaces were to be used for a particular use as
Right.
opposed to employees, or they were also running an auto repair facility. They'd got two special permits.
So the finding of the board is,
That the special permit continues in effect and to allow Core and Main to have open lot storage in connection with its business at 655 Pleasant Street.
Is there anybody in the audience who wants to talk about this case? Okay, seeing none.
Make a motion that we modify the special permit up to 27%.
I want something on it there, to be honest with you. I don't want a junkyard down there. And I
Yeah,
respect your business, don't get me wrong, but I
But-
don't wanna drive down there and see crap
I'll
everywhere.
second that,
We're-
27%.
Alright, so.
27,
No, here's a
coverage.
concern.
Not including the structure.
Here's a concern.
Exactly.
Open lot storage.
Mm.
27% of the total land area. The 25%.
Whatever
I
gets
don't
you
wanna
to-
go down that path. All right, here's a concern. Are you making a modification? I think you can make certain modifications without a full-blown public hearing. I think you can also determine that the special permit is in effect, and that we don't, and that the condition, there is no condition. If you want to make a condition, we're happy to represent that. Is 27 gonna be enough for what you need to do?
That's
Or-
our proposal, I mean, if I can ask for 30.
Well, again, with all due respect to Jack, he didn't adhere to the 15 or whatever was down
We
there.
have our
He
plan.
was goalpost to goalpost, and
Well,
nobody.
I think
mean,
the town
again, it
did
was
not-
an innocuous use.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I think
So
that was so. Because
listen,
I think
we've got a
everybody
long night.
realized.
Let's get to
I
the
know.
end zone.
Everybody
All right,
realized
all right.
that it wasn't limited.
Tell you what.
I don't think it is limited.
But here's the bottom line, we're gonna limit it, okay? So here's the bottom line, we're gonna limit it, we're gonna tell you you can do 27%, okay?
Yeah. We can live with that.
Okay.
Fine. That
Then-
motion
then
was on the
done.
floor.
Done.
And I
Mr.
second,
Chairman.
So there's a
Mr.
motion on the
Murphy.
floor to allow it, the modification up to 27%.
And Mr.
It was
Murphy
seconded by
seconded it.
Mr. Murphy, so
Can you also make a finding, or as part of that, that the special permit continues in effect for open lot storage, not limited as to material, but limited by our agreement as to the percentage?
Well, now, wait a minute now, because the car open lot storage is coming into place, the moratorium. Now, if he walks out of here tomorrow, then you can't put cars back there.
We understand that,
Okay, just as long as you're clear on that.
yeah.
Right.
All right?
Yeah.
Mr. Balboni, you're clear
so we're
on
gonna
that,
have to
okay.
exclude it in case this guy moves his business at some
Well, I,
point.
I,
Right,
I
well,
want
this
you to
is-
be here for a long time, but my
Right,
point is, the town just put a moratorium on open lot car storage, so they're not popping up all over the place. So if
So
you
this is-
decide to
this
move to
approval-
Duluth, Minnesota, Mr. Balboni can't go back to Jack and say, listen,
Yeah.
have
You
the
can
lot
get more
back.
money
Yeah.
storing cars,
Yeah.
right.
So this,
So-
this modification is strictly
On the 27%.
directly,
Yes.
directly related to the core and main business only.
But it runs with the property, it
But it
runs
runs
with the
with the
land.
property.
It runs with the
I
land.
think you want to limit it.
But
that.
when-
But look at, the point about cars is that I suppose what you want to say is that your decision does not in any way affect the moratorium that's in effect until June 30th of 2020.
Why don't we just say it excludes car storage?
Because if in the future car storage is allowed or the
Yeah.
moratorium
Yeah.
expires, I don't think you can do that.
Well, they could come back in.
If
Good come back,
the
yeah.
moratorium is going to expire in about a year,
I get you.
so you just recognize the moratorium
Yes.
is in effect with respect to that property, as it is in
Through,
effect
through the
anyway.
date of the end of the moratorium.
Right.
Yeah, you can't
Okay.
limit it beyond
All
that.
right.
Can I just ask one, how long have you been in business in Norwood?
We've been in
Just-
Dedham for the last, by Legacy Place for the last 8 years, 9 years.
What are you on, Joey Federico's property over there?
Sturgis. No, well, he's a customer of ours,
Yeah,
but no, not on his
yeah,
property.
But are you moving to Norwood, is that it?
Yeah, we're
we
there
already
now,
moved
we have a
in.
temp CO, then obviously this issue
Okay.
came up.
Good. Hire Norwood people, would you?
What's that?
Hire Norwood people.
You got it?
All right.
All right, so there's a motion to approve up to 27%. It's been seconded by Mr. Murphy.
Can we say 27%, up to leaves? We can use up to 27%.
At a minimum
All right.
of-
No, up to 27%, you're
That's
correct.
what I said, right?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Up to 27%. All right.
And the auto lot moratorium remains in effect with respect to
Remains
this
in effect
property.
till the end of the moratorium, and then decide where to go from there.
Makes
All right,
sense.
well,
Makes sense.
everybody's good with that? All those in favor of that?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 5 to
Okay,
nothing.
thanks.
Good luck.
Thank
Are you Chris's brother?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Younger brother, right?
Yeah, a lot younger.
Now I can move on.
And you know what, I apologize to some earlier clients, I know you were.
Please
sorry
tell him
about
I
the
said
snafu
hello. I
last
haven't
time.
seen
Give
him
me a
in a
heart
long
attack.
time.
It was
I
a
did a
last
deal
minute
with
thing
his
that
son.
we did, it was
Chris,
unforeseen, it was
do you
a
know
last
who
minute
is?
emergency.
He's with
to
Keller
one of the
Williams?
board
Yes,
members.
yes.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
things
yeah.
come to those that
Yeah.
wait.
Chris is with the Long Beach California.
All right,
I
do well up
appreciate
there.
it.
He
Thanks.
left me behind.
Thank you,
doing
just
work.
be careful.
Did he sell Westwood?
Yes, he did.
We have to operate anyways, we
He's
can't.
California now.
Yeah,
Wow.
we have to be able to move around the property.
Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
This I think is yours.
All right, next
All
one
right.
is,
Good luck.
Thank you.
Dave, are you on the next one too?
No, I'm going home.
They're not easy.
By request,
Yeah.
I'm leaving.
By unanimous request. All right, next up is 65 Hillshire Lane, please.
We don't have lawyers, so we'll go fast.
Thank Christ.
I hope
All right,
Jeez.
smartest
It looks
people of the
like
night,
a baseball field, doesn't it?
smartest
It's
people of
like
the night so
Going
far.
on and on and on.
I don't know, Paul, we got a hard time every time.
I
What
know.
did Shakespeare say about the lawyers?
Some lawyers are all right. All right, so
We got all
65 Hillshire, case number 1912. The applicant requests a special permit under 5.4.4 of the bylaw to allow the building of a second-story addition as the existing number 65 first floor. Second-story front of the house to have 18-inch overhang. Height of the building shall not exceed 30 feet. Dimensions of second-story length is 36.3 feet. Width is 25.75 feet. Do you guys have the affidavit in the mailing, please? Okay, that's good. And if you do that, Murph, please.
I have June 13th, Mr. Chair.
6:20, Mr. Chairman.
June 20, June 13, thank you. All right, if you guys want to just introduce yourselves to the record, please, and just give you, well, we know your address.
Sure. Lisa Jordan.
And Ben Jordan.
Great.
I'm gonna let my husband speak.
Really?
So,
I'm in the banking business. I don't do construction, so I'm
Alright.
gonna leave it up to him.
I'm gonna give you
So-
my wife's phone number after this is over. Go ahead, buddy.
You're on tape.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We're not actually going out with the house, we're just going directly up with it. The reason we're here is because we are short the 10,000 square foot requirement by about 200 square feet. So,
9,800 now?
Yeah, so it's just under, so,
All of the setbacks,
yeah.
nothing's changing.
Everything's fine, it's corner lot. Nothing's actually gonna go closer to the neighbor or anything, or,
I thought the proposal was perfect. I thought it's a perfect lot for what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd be
Oh,
anxious
this is
to
the one
see
right at the end of the street.
It's in the
isn't it?
corner.
It's a
Yeah.
corner
Yeah.
lot.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I looked, I was
plot
there.
plan.
Yeah.
Good.
And we have neighbors that have similar homes, so we figured it would be a good addition to the neighborhood, and we were looking to stay, and
Wait a minute, you're talking.
yes, I know, I can't
Oh.
You knew it wasn't gonna last.
It's bad. It lasted about 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's,
Fine.
all right, so, any comments?
I don't have any problem. It looks
Nothing,
like
Mr.
a
Chairman.
Wonderful.
Nothing.
Actually, there was quite a bit of activity, I think, in the neighborhood, where people had upgraded their
Yeah.
structures.
I believe there's about 2 or 3 additions
Yeah,
in the
I saw.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
I tell you, I wish everybody came in asking for what you're looking for, to be quite honest with you, but I'll keep my
It's
personal
gonna
opinion.
look beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
Nice corner lot.
gonna be
yeah.
fine. So, all right, anybody in the audience wanna talk about this?
They better not. You know what time it is? Everybody look at your watch.
All right, pleasure of the board, please.
Motion to close?
Motion to close. Second. Is seconded by Mr. Easy. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5-0.
Motion to approve?
Motion
Second.
Second.
Seconded, we'll go with Mr. Perry this time, and, the motion was by Mr. Mulvihill, seconded by Mr. Perry. All those in favor? Aye. All right, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Don't take so long next time.
Too bad we're gonna schedule them at 7 o'clock.
I know. All right, I have to step down on the next thing.
Mr. Murphy, you wanna take the gavel?
No, Mr. Mulvihill, that's okay. You can step right up.
Jesus, I
How
love these
many do
guys.
you book on a night?
Ay, 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 all right. Hi, folks.
Hello.
How are you? For the record, Mr. Brady is recusing himself as being a direct abutter to the applicants who
Ask
are.
about the signage, because I couldn't find
Yes.
the property.
I know. Where's the, do you have the, Okay, no problem. No problem. Miss, Laura McCarthy?
Yes.
Is it Mr. and Mrs. McCarthy?
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry, because Laura, you're the applicant.
I am.
Right, okay. Do you have your affidavit and the advertisement?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry it took so long, guys. We just,
worries.
it's a busy night and sometimes it gets that
I
way.
didn't sign because I had to sign the other.
Yeah, you gotta sign this. Yeah, so just use, Paul, you got a pen? Sign that, Paul and Scott. And we're looking for the dates, 1 second, guys.
I have June 27th, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I don't know why I put it like that.
Oh, there we go.
Today's the 7th, 6th.
I have June 20th.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Okay. Laura McCarthy, 77 Cameron Road, and the dates are the 20th and the 27th. The affidavit is in order, and the advertisements are in order. Let me read the public notice, and then we'll get right to the hearing, folks, and then I'll give you the floor. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Haven't done this in a while, so I'm kind of rusty. Notice here.
Riding a bike.
Notice is hereby given the Board of Appeal of the Town of Norwood will hold a public hearing in room 12 of the Municipal Office Building on July 16th, which was the original hearing, on the request of Laura McCarthy, case 1913, with respect to property located at 77 Cameron Road in a G General Residential District. The application requests a special permit under section 5.4.4 of the zoning bylaw to allow the building of a single-story addition which measures 36 by 22, increasing the habitable floor space by more than 25% on a pre-existing non-conforming lot per section 5.4.4. Plans are on file with the application in the Office of the Zoning Board of Appeals and may be viewed during normal working hours Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. All the statutory requirements having been met, I hereby declare the hearing open. Prior to any testimony, Mr. Brady again has recused himself by being a direct abutter, so the members are down to 4, and I have to advise the applicants that you're going with a 4-member board.
Yes.
Have you been so advised of the consequences of going with 4 members?
Yes.
Just for the record, I just have to reiterate those consequences. On a 5-member board, you had one chance at a negative. You'd win 4-1. On a 4-member board, you have to prevail 4-0. If you prevail 3-1, you lose. Still want to move forward?
Yes.
Okay. So sorry for the last time. I was on vacation, and there was a shuffling of the auxiliary or the associate members. So I do apologize. Who would like to make the presentation?
I guess I will.
All right, Laura, go ahead.
So we're looking to add on an in-law addition to the back of the house.
Okay.
And we were told that we need to get a special permit because the front of the house is too close to the street.
Did you speak to Mr. Schubert or the building department? Who told you
Our
that?
contractor did.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got in touch with Mr. Schubert.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
All the footage required for the back of the house is well
It's fine.
within,
Yeah,
yes.
you're fine. You
Yeah.
can see the plan here. But it's a pre-existing non-conforming, that's the frontage is 70 and, or excuse me, yeah, you've got 70 feet, or 69, 72. In-law for mom, dad, who's?
Dad.
Dad, okay.
And he wants a big in-law.
Okay, so when we do in-laws like this, we have to just read you the Riot Act, which, again, you're not alone and not unique when we do this, or at least from my perspective on in-laws. You're in a single-family residential zone down there.
Yep.
It's a great neighborhood, as you well know, because obviously you wouldn't be putting the dough into this thing if you didn't want to move. I almost did it with my mother, God rest her soul. The argument that was portrayed to me was that what happens when mom passes, what happens when dad passes. You've got another kitchen in there, you've got another bathroom in there, you've got a 2-family unit. You can't make this a 2-family unit. I think Mr. Schubert, and it's a fine line here as far as the enforcement mechanism on this, on what you can do after the fact when the in-law use is no longer in use. Scott may know this, being the lawyer, it's a familial relationship as far as any future renters in there. You can't rent and put it on Craigslist or give it to a realtor and use it as an income property.
Yeah.
You're in a familial relationship, like a cousin, third cousin, aunt, uncle,
Oh,
somebody
don't
you
worry,
can.
I've got plenty of those.
We got 3 boys. I don't think we're leaving anytime soon, so they will occupy.
So just as long as we're clear on that,
Yes,
okay? So
absolutely.
and that'll be in the record, so
And
that
we
if-
filed the
Yeah,
paperwork
so-
we needed to with the
so-
registry of deeds.
hopefully, is Dad here?
No,
Okay,
didn't come.
so hopefully Dad lives another 30 years. In 32 years from now, somebody's not complaining that you're renting it out to a family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's on record.
Yep.
So, gentlemen, I'll start with Mr. Perry.
I understand what they're doing, drawings, believe it or not,
What's that?
the drawings are a little confusing,
Okay.
because normally you would do an as-built as to exactly what's there, and then a separate set as to what you wanna do. It's just a little confusing.
Did you see that? Did you
As a
see that?
presentation.
I think you might, I think that might be, because you, did you get the, this one? This thing you have.
No. I didn't get this.
Yeah, there you go. I thought that might be what you were talking about.
Yeah. I didn't have this. How come I didn't get this? How'd you get it? You can't even read these.
I always ask you, I always ask you to read them for me.
Jack's the architect,
I'm fine.
so you're all set.
Yeah,
Scott, go
I
ahead.
know what the intent is.
I have nothing.
know
I
the-
have nothing, Mr. Reese.
It's a big lot.
Yeah,
What
I mean-
what are they
Yeah,
missing?
it is.
Frontage.
So what do they need, 90?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they have 70 almost?
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't have a problem with it.
because the footprint doesn't change,
Yeah.
so.
I mean, it's a big, it's a 70, over, almost 18,000, that's a big lot for Norwich.
Yeah, it is.
Seeing nothing further from the board, we'll open it up to the audience. Anybody want to be heard on case number 1913, McCarthy, 77 Cameron Road? Raise your hand, be recognized.
You're not
Seeing
acknowledged.
nobody, I'll entertain a motion to close by the board.
Motion closed.
By Mr. Perry, seconded by Mr. Murphy. All those in favor, opposed? Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve.
By Mr.
Second.
Reese, seconded by Mr. Perry. All those in favor, opposed? Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck, guys.
Have a great night.
Sorry about the delay. I was
Do we
away.
have
It
to wait?
happens.
I'm sorry.
It happens.
There was
How
a
many days, Mr.?
20.
20.
It is.
So you can, the way that Schubert would tell you, proceed at your own peril. You could start digging a hole, you could start doing X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
you know, but as long as you're aware that if somebody comes in that 21 days and throws an appeal at you, you've gotta stop. So, but you can get going, yeah, you can get going per se, but I
Okay.
wouldn't bang nails or anything.
Okay.
Right.
You know what I mean? But your contractor will talk to Mark and Matt over there, so.
Okay.
Great.
Great. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right.
Have a great night.
All right, you too.
Have a good night. Hope you
All
get out
right.
of here soon.
I know.
Not as much as we do.
So the chair's gonna be passed back to Mr. Brady now. Thank you. And Mr. Murphy, you are now gonna take the gavel next time, I'm telling you.
All right,
I'm-
fine.
Yeah, he is the vice chairman, moving forward.
Nice.
So,
All right,
So-
so with all that being
We've
said,
got
do we have
the
a
Norwich
motion?
Space Center.
Oh, yes, so, yeah, sorry, I almost forgot
That's
that.
the one when they get a new tenant,
Yeah.
you guys have to decide if you want them to come back in for an hearing.
Yeah. So my question, Mr. Chairman, on this, and Ramonda, I haven't seen any application or anything.
What I did, you messed
This
up
is,
all my paper.
I'm sorry, buddy, this is just a rehearsal space for musicians?
They'll be, doing performances, rehearsals, and then they'll also be renting it out during the day for events.
No liquor,
Uh,
food?
they will be pursuing, a liquor license, they do not have one now. There's one, I guess another event space down there that has a beer and wine, and they're possibly to get a liquor license, but nothing's up yet, but
Is this?
they eventually will want
Excuse me.
to get
Did-
liquor.
We had a lengthy discussion on this, didn't we?
Mhm.
I mean, again, I don't wanna stand in the way of progress, but
But
I mean, are we starting to get into that Endicott, Zimbal's, it's not turning into what we thought? I'd like to see the testimony of what we said in the previous, is this something that was in line of what we were looking to do?
No, but the, Mr. Dupree, when he called in and we talked about his request, what he said exactly is, I want something inside the fallout shelter. He wants to have exactly what they have
Down at Endicott.
down in Endicott.
So,
Let me tell you this though, I am familiar with this space.
yeah,
And this area that they're talking about, I've actually been to shows at, they have had shows there. Whether or not they get a liquor license, I'm not sure how that's possible. They've had temporary liquor licenses because I've bought drinks there before.
Yeah, you
Plus, there's
can
a
get,
brewery
Yeah, you
right
can do
next
it.
door.
Yeah.
But it's not through this board.
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, no,
No.
that's select.
That's a whole
Yeah,
separate.
yeah.
Right,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah,
us.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I don't have a problem with the liquor licenses if it's going to help a business prosper.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been to see Mr. Brady, I've been in receptions there with
You-
it.
you
There's
know what I
there's
mean?
a brewery right next door that
Yeah.
everybody, I'm not sure I should say this, but they take the booze from the brewery and go into and watch the show that goes on.
You know,
So, I mean-
you're probably not supposed to say that.
Yeah, I mean, but, well, it's gotta be allowed, cause
You
the
know,
apartments
I
can
mean,
be
like,
built down
in
there.
the
I heard
Seaport
'em.
District, it's all thriving, and they increased the number of licenses that were, so that businesses could do well, and it's all working.
I think Norwood's doing that too. The selectmen. are doing that.
2,500 square feet is not big.
No.
That area, it is though. I know 2,500 square feet isn't, but that's a huge room. It's an open.
Well, it's all relative to what the occupancy load is,
Right.
so.
Again,
And the
I
state
just,
controls
listen, I
that,
don't wanna
too.
stand in the way of progress either, because we said yes to them, to move forward and renovate and rejuvenate and a blighted property, da, 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 da. My issue is that, again, Scott hearing Phil, was this, or does this fall within the intent of what we said it was going to do? And I beg to say Ms. Morgan said no, I'd like to look at the testimony, but,
But if it didn't, then what's already going on?
well, if it didn't, then they've gotta come in for a hearing. And that's the,
Mine just raised.
yeah,
Yes,
So
ma'am.
there is already, Little Bird Event is already down there, you guys allowed them to go in, so they have receptions, they have weddings, they have
That's
the
where
beer
it was.
and
You were
wine.
you were at Little
Um,
Bird. That's
and,
where we were.
they have function
That
there,
big
they don't
room,
have
the
the
one of the
function,
first
big
ones
but
there?
they do
Yeah.
have the
Little
function
Bird.
aspect already there going on.
And the alcohol part of it is also a key to their success.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
a beer and
they
wine, they have a
also-
beer
they
and
have a
wine
beer and
license.
I mean, if
wine
you were
license.
gonna celebrate a 25th wedding anniversary, wouldn't you like to open a bottle of champagne?
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Or are you gonna go to another restaurant that that won't allow you to have champagne? That's how I look at it.
Mr. Mulvihill, I didn't sit on that hearing, but in my opinion, I think that that's the kind of use that these places are designed for, kind of flexible use like that. And I agree with Mr. Easy, we don't have anything to say about the liquor license.
No,
It's not
absolutely,
out.
yeah. No,
So
I
if they
know.
wanna get one, they can get one, it's great for
I
them.
know, again, it's, again, I don't wanna stand in the way of it, and it's more of a, okay, if we say no to it, they gotta come in and they have to apply. If we say yes to it, you can just do it as a matter of right, correct? Yeah, so, as long as we're aware that this type of use is gonna be, probably, they're gonna look at, there's more space to be rented down there, correct?
Yeah.
There's a whole nother building that hasn't been
No.
developed.
And that's
Yeah.
why I think that, we as a board need to try to help, get
Fine.
these spaces
Fine.
filled.
Right.
Fine.
So is it pleasure of the board?
Yes, I make a motion that we
Allow it.
Second.
Seconded, all right. Motion by Paul, seconded by Scott, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're good, 5-0. Do we have a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn?
Can I make one suggestion, though?
Oh,
Should we have 5 hearings in a night? And, I mean, don't you think we'd get
Are we
dragged
off the
out?
record?
no, we're still on camera, but we'll
No, but
discuss,
I'm just-
we'll discuss that in private. I agree with you, it
Yeah,
can be
'cause it
cumbersome
gets-
and, but some of
does.
the applications went quickly at the end, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that after,
That's fine,
amongst us.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we'll do it in private. But, Mr. Chairman, if I may, as a point of personal privilege, to the audience and to the folks in Norwood, this board lost a longtime member, who passed away recently, Mr. Harry Spence. Harry was a very well-spoken member of this board for over 10 years. He was involved in numerous activities in the town, concerts on the Common, which Paul sits on, and he was involved in a number of other activities. He was just an all-around nice guy. I didn't agree with Harry on a lot. Jackie and him sparred many a time, but it was a civil
Yeah, it's a good guy.
discourse. It
Good
was,
guy.
and I didn't know he was an attorney until I read his obit. He was an attorney.
Yeah.
And he was a very well-spoken attorney, and he was very knowledgeable. I didn't make the services. I called Marge. I think I can speak for all of us on behalf of the whole town and this board. Mrs. Spence and her daughters, our sympathies go out to you.
One other thing too, since you stole my show, I just wanted to read this, which comes from his obituary,
Oh,
which I
good.
appreciate. Harry leaves behind a legacy of wisdom for all those who had the opportunity to know him and experience the pure joy he most definitely brought to their lives. I gotta say, I replaced Harry when he retired from the board. I always admired his wisdom, as I do all of you for that matter. Yeah, I mean, you guys bail me out more often than not, but regardless, Harry was definitely one of a kind, appreciated, and definitely deserves to be commended for his dedication to the town.
He was a good guy.
Good dude.
Well, he was on the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
When I was on it.
Good guy.
Good guy.
He's very dedicated.
Good guy, lived a full life.
Now he's doing better than we are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, buddy. Well done.
All set?
All right, so we,
You guys adjourn.
Yes.
we're adjourned, we're good.
Thank you.
You know that